Listen and practice.
I go to a boarding school, so I don't live with my parents during the semester. What I like is being with my friends all the time. Whether we're working or just chatting, it's great to know there's always someone there. There's also a lot of freedom. I don't have to tell my parents where I'm going, who I'm going with, you know. Normally, Monday is my favorite day because I only have 2 classes on a Monday. But I'm having a very bad day today because I have homework from every one of my teachers and I have to do it now.
Listen and practice.
I have a new friend, Nora. We're the same in some ways, but different in other ways. Nora is very outgoing. She likes to be around people. I'm not really outgoing. I'm shy. But we're still good friends. She's also confident. In math class, she always shouts out the answers. She is sometimes right, but sometimes wrong. She doesn't care. She just tries. I like that about her.
Listen and practice.
The new guy in our class, Simon, is interesting to me. He's really good at art. He's creative and loves anime. He wants to be an anime artist someday, but he's also very good at math. He's probably the best student in our class, actually. He gets good grades easily, but he hardly studies. He's becoming a good friend.
Listen and practice.
It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly I woke up. I heard a noise. I got out of bed and went slowly downstairs. There was a light on in the living room. I listened carefully. I could hear 2 men speaking very quietly. Burglars, I thought. 2 burglars. Immediately I ran back upstairs and called the police. I was really frightened. Fortunately, the police arrived quickly. They opened the front door and went into the living room. Then they came upstairs to find me. "It's all right now, sir," they explained. "We turned the television off for you."
Listen and practice.
I work in a coffee shop on weekends, and there's a new girl there. Her name's Kaylee. She's not hardworking at all and gets very impatient with customers. You know, sometimes customers need time to choose their order. Kaylee just looks the other way and taps her fingers like this. She also forgets the customer's orders and makes lots of mistakes. I don't think she'll have this job for very long.
Listen and practice.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for helping me plan Grandpa's birthday party. Grandpa was very happy. Everyone had a great time. It was a sunny and warm day. It was a perfect day to have a party in the park. Grandma's birthday is next month. Can you help me again? We can have the party at my house. There will be 28 guests, the same as Grandpa's party. Can you help me invite Grandma's friends? I will give you their phone numbers. I will invite the family. Grandma likes the color purple. I'd like to decorate the room with purple balloons. We can ask the guests to bring purple flowers for Grandma. If everyone brings 5 flowers, we will have 140 flowers. She will be very happy. David will be busy, so he can't bake the birthday cake. So I will order cakes from the bakery. If I buy 4 cakes, I can cut each cake into 7 pieces. We will also need 7 liters of juice for everyone. What do you think? Rita.
Listen and practice.
I'm sure you have heard the phrase global warming. Scientists use the phrase for 2 kinds of warming. The first one is an increase in air temperature. The average air temperature on Earth is almost 1 degree higher than in 1960. This may sound small, but it's really very big for such a short time. Its effects are troubling. Glaciers, which are rivers of ice, are disappearing in mountains. A mountain in Africa called Kilimanjaro once had a lot of snow on it. Now almost all the snow is gone. Warmer air also helps diseases spread farther. And there is even worse news. The increase gets faster year by year. The average temperature might rise another 4 degrees in the next 50 years. The other part of global warming is in the oceans. Seawater temperatures in most parts of the sea have gone up more than 1 degree since 1960. This has caused a lot of problems. Much of the ice around the Earth's North Pole melts every summer. Warmer ocean water has helped cause more heavy rainstorms in Europe. Sea animals that a lot of people like, such as penguins, have more trouble finding enough cool water. Lots of fish are dying. Humans cause much of the trouble. Factories and cars put gas into the air. This gas traps heat on Earth. Also, people cut down forests that could help keep the planet cooler. A bigger population means more factories, more cars, and fewer trees. Trees help keep the planet cooler, so the loss of so much forest is a big problem.
Listen and practice.
Bacteria and disease.
In 1864, a French scientist called Louis Pasteur discovered that bacteria in the air could cause disease. Then he had the idea that you could prevent disease by stopping bacteria getting into the body. A British surgeon called Joseph Lister used Louis Pasteur's idea to make the first antiseptics. Antiseptics were substances that could kill bacteria on tools used in surgery. They could also kill bacteria that make wounds become infected. This stopped many people dying after they had surgery.
Listen and practice.
Medicines made from plants.
When early people tasted plants to test which ones were safe to eat, they also discovered plants that cured illness and fever. These plants were the first medicines. One of the oldest books about medicines made from plants was written in China more than 4,000 years ago. Most early medicines were made from parts of plants, like flowers. People ate the plant parts, or they made them into drinks. Sometimes they made the plant parts into lotions to put on their body. Today, many people use medicines made from plants. For example, people use lotions made from aloe vera plants to make sore skin feel better.
Listen and practice.
Human beings are programmed to be afraid of things that can hurt them. Show a baby a picture of a snake or a big poisonous spider, and the baby will show fear. It's in our DNA. We are all afraid of some things, and that's good. But a phobia causes absolute terror, with physical symptoms such as a racing heart, sickness, and panic attacks. Phobias are usually the result of a bad experience. For example, a car crash can cause a fear of driving, but it's often just of ordinary things like balloons or a particular food. Some people are more likely to get phobias than others. It's in their genes. My job is to train people to conquer their phobia. First, we just talk about it and help the patient relax. Then we might show just a picture of their phobia. After that, we sometimes show a movie. And finally, we ask them to touch the object. In this way, phobias can normally be treated in just 3 or 4 sessions.
Listen and practice.
I have a really unusual phobia. It began when I was a little girl. I was staying with my grandmother, and she asked me to go upstairs and get her cardigan sweater. I opened the cabinet and saw this big, dark green sweater with huge black buttons hanging there. I was terrified. I started screaming. My grandmother rushed upstairs and finally managed to calm me down. But from then on, it was a problem. It was the buttons. All buttons made me feel uncomfortable. It's difficult for me to buy clothes. I try to find skirts and pants with just belts and zippers, but it's not easy. About a year ago, a button came off a colleague's jacket at work, and I had a panic attack. I've decided to see a therapist, but I'm embarrassed to say I'm scared of buttons. It sounds silly.
Listen and practice.
Well, there are a lot of things I can't do. I can't drive a car, but I want to take driving lessons soon. I can't speak French, but I can speak Spanish. My mother's Mexican, and we often go to Mexico to visit her family. My mother's a good cook. She can cook really well, not just Mexican food, all kinds of food. But I can't cook at all. I just love eating. What about sports? Well, I think I'm good at a lot of sports. I can play tennis, and of course I can swim, but I can't ski.
Listen and practice.
Caves. Caves were dark and didn't have windows. They protected people from bad weather and wild animals. The doors were made from animal skins. There was no kitchen or bathroom. Cave people cooked their food on fires. In hot weather, they didn't live in homes at all. They lived and slept outside. In some places where there were no natural caves, people had to dig caves out of the hills.
Listen and practice.
Vaccines today. Today, doctors and nurses inject vaccines. They use a needle to put the vaccine into a person's arm or another part of their body. The vaccine is a weak type of a virus or bacteria. When a vaccine is inside the body starts to make antibodies to attack the vaccine. Antibodies are substances in the blood that can kill viruses and bacteria. When the body has learned how to make the antibodies, it's ready to kill viruses or bacteria when they get inside the body. This prevents the person getting that disease in the future.
Listen and practice.
Hospitals in the past. Today, some people go to hospital to get well when they are ill. In the past, some hospitals were so bad that they made ill people worse. From about 1,000 years ago in Europe, monks and nuns cared for patients in hospitals. They weren't doctors or nurses, and they didn't cure the patients. They gave patients food and a bed, and they said prayers with them. The worst disease at this time was the plague. Monks and nuns cared for many patients who had the plague because the patients had to stay in hospital until they died. The plague killed millions of people in Europe and in Asia.
Listen and practice.
From about 1,000 years ago in the Middle East, there were many hospitals. There were lots of doctors and nurses to care for the patients, and they made medicines for the patients too. Doctors treated everyone who came there, and they taught new doctors and nurses about diseases. These hospitals had different wards for different diseases. There were also pools and fountains, because doctors believed that the sound of moving water helped patients to rest.
Listen and practice.
I work in a restaurant in Miami. I have 2 days off a week, usually Monday and Wednesday. But my favorite day of the week is, in fact, Friday, even though I work that day. It's the best night because all my friends come into the restaurant and we have a great time. There's a real buzz to the place, and it doesn't feel like work at all. Time just flies by. The restaurant's being redecorated right now, so everything's a little crazy.
Listen and practice.
Cars. To make a car, people use a metal called steel to make a strong chassis. People also use steel to make big shapes for the outside of the car. Then robots fix the outside to the chassis. A conveyor moves the chassis around the car factory, and people fix many parts on the chassis. Later, other machines paint the car. Then people fix other parts on the car, like the engine, doors,
wheels, and seats for people to sit on. There are about 35,000 parts in a car.
Listen and practice.
Mike and I live on a beautiful farm in Missouri. I know we're very lucky, but it's hard work. We never have a day off on weekends or holidays or any day of the year. We have to feed the animals and take care of the fields. Now we're harvesting, so we aren't getting any rest at all. But I suppose our favorite day is Wednesday, because that's the day we generally get together with friends and prepare a wonderful meal.
Listen and practice.
I'm a police officer. I like my job because it's challenging, but I live for surfing. I go as often as I can. I'm opening 2 shops that sell surfboards in the next few months. The boards are made here in the U.S. Sunday is my favorite day of the week. I hardly ever work on a Sunday. I get up as early as I can and spend the day at the beach.
Listen and practice.
My name's Adam. I'm from Sydney, in Australia. I'm married. I'm a doctor. My hospital is in downtown Sydney. It's a great building. The doctors are really good.
Listen and practice.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for helping me plan Grandpa's birthday party. Grandpa was very happy. Everyone had a great time. It was a sunny and warm day. It was a perfect day to have a party in the park. Grandma's birthday is next month. Can you help me again? We can have the party at my house. There will be 28 guests, the same as Grandpa's party. Can you help me invite Grandma's friends? I will give you their phone numbers. I will invite the family. Grandma likes the color purple. I'd like to decorate the room with purple balloons. We can ask the guests to bring purple flowers for Grandma. If everyone brings 5 flowers, we will have 140 flowers. She will be very happy. David will be busy, so he can't bake the birthday cake. So I will order cakes from the bakery. If I buy 4 cakes, I can cut each cake into 7 pieces. We will also need 7 liters of juice for everyone. What do you think? Rita.
Listen and practice.
Well, so many teenagers seem to think life is about just one thing, you know? Money and fame. They think it will bring them happiness. Honestly, I would hate to be famous. When I read the magazines and see all the photos of these rich, famous movie stars, athletes, and the like, it frightens me. They can't move without being followed and photographed. Usually, they have bodyguards. When I grow up, I just want to enjoy my work. If I earn lots of money, fair enough. But if I don't, I'll still be happy. I never want to be famous. That's scary stuff.
Listen and practice.
I'm closest to my twin, Nick. Obviously, we have so much in common. The same friends, the same soccer team, the same music. We go everywhere together. but we have crazy arguments about everything. We're like oil and water. I'm like my mom, calm and easygoing. Nick's like my dad, very bad-tempered. They fight like cats and dogs. But things have changed now that we're older. We appreciate each other more. The biggest difference is probably interests. I'm into all things history and politics, and Nick's interested in science and nature. But, of course, we're a lot closer than just brothers and sisters. In a way, we're like one. I would trust him like I would trust no one else.
Listen and practice.
I think the person that I'm probably closest to is my sister. The thing I love about her is the way everyone knows her. It doesn't matter where we go. Everyone says, "Hi, Sarah, how you doing?" I'm just her little sister. People call me Baby Sarah, but that's fine. We're so different. We have big fights. She's so hyperactive and loud. She can't sit still. She has to have people around her, and everyone loves her. In many ways, she drives me crazy. She just can't think straight. Me, I'm a lot quieter. I'm happy on my own. But we're so proud of each other.
Listen and practice.
The person that I'm closest to in my family is probably my mother. She's the kind of person you can talk to about anything. She's very open, my mother, and I can talk to her about boyfriends, stuff that's bothering me at work, friendships, anything. We have our ups and downs, of course, but basically we have an easy relationship. We go shopping together. What I like about her is her attitude. She's young at heart, like me, not old-fashioned or anything like that.
Listen and practice.
The person I'm closest to in my family, I think, would be my father. We stay up late listening to music and talking a lot. What I like about him is that he's interesting and interested. He has a curiosity about life. We can talk about anything and everything. We have the same sense of humor, the same love of life. My friends all love him because he's so funny. He doesn't care what people think of him, and I guess that's great. He's pretty cool, my dad.
Listen and practice.
I'm closest to my grandmother. My father, I don't really get along with. We don't really see eye to eye on anything. My mother, I hardly ever see. She's too busy. My grandmother and I like doing the same things. We like watching TV and having lunch together. We love playing cards. And I think emotionally I'm closer to her than I am to my parents, because she and I have a similar attitude to life. I think we both like people. We're very outgoing, sociable, and open.
Listen and practice.
When I retire, I'm going to learn Russian. I can already speak French and Spanish, and I want to learn another language. And second, I'm going to learn to drive. It's terrible that I'm 59 and I can't drive. Then I'm going to buy a car and travel all over the world. Also, I'm not going to wear boring clothes anymore. I hate the skirts and blouses I wear every day for school. I'm going to wear jeans and t-shirts all the time. And when I return from my travels, I'm going to write a book and go on TV to talk about it. I'm going to become a TV star.
Listen and practice.
My favorite hobby is cooking, and that's a thing you do at home, obviously. I cook most days, though not every day. We also like eating out. What clothes and equipment do I need? Well, I often wear an apron to protect my clothes because you can make a mess when you're cooking, and tomatoes and spices change the color of your clothes forever. The most important piece of equipment is knives, and I'm very particular about my knives. They're German and very sharp, and I really take care of them. Obviously, in the kitchen, you need all sorts of things like pots and pans and baking dishes and chopping boards and food mixers, but I don't really have a lot of gadgets. I like to keep things simple. What I like about cooking is the fact that it's creative and it's real. We have to eat, and what we eat is really important. So I like to know that what I'm eating and what my family is eating is good. I actually like all the preparation. Going out shopping, seeing the food, feeling it, smelling it, talking to the people who are selling it is half the fun. People often ask me what I like cooking, and I don't really have an answer. Whatever looks good and whatever I feel like cooking that day. The best part is, of course, seeing people enjoy my food. But what's also very important to me is seeing everyone happy and enjoying being at the table. It's about the occasion as much as the food.
Listen and practice.
My plans for the future? I'm not really sure. You see, I just left this job that I had for almost 10 years. I'm looking for a new job, but I don't want to take just any job. I'd like to find something that I will really enjoy doing. I've always wanted to paint, but I never really had the time to try it. So maybe I'll go back to school and take a few art classes while I'm looking for the right job.
Listen and practice.
How the heart works. In Egypt, about 760 years ago, a famous doctor called Ibn al-Nafis studied the heart. He discovered that it moves blood around the body. He also discovered that blood travels from one side of the heart to the other side by moving through the lungs. In the lungs, the blood mixes with air. Blood leaves the heart through blood vessels called arteries, and it travels back to the heart through blood vessels called veins. In 1628, a British scientist called William Harvey wrote a book about this.
Listen and practice.
Family homes. Some people in the world live alone. Other people live with their families, other families, or with friends. In big towns, each family often has its own small home. But in many places in the world, lots of generations of a family often live together. This can be helpful because the grandparents can look after the children while the parents work. Sometimes, lots of different families live together in the same building, but on different floors. Who lives with you?
Listen and practice.
Different climates. The climate is different in different parts of the world. People build different homes depending on the climate. In temperate climates, the weather is usually mild. Homes are often built with bricks. Bricks keep water out and keep the homes dry. Homes often have large windows to let the sun in, and a chimney so people can light a fire when it's cold. Where it rains a lot, people build houses with sloping roofs so that all the water runs off and doesn't get into their houses.
Listen and practice.
Transportation is the movement of people or goods from one place to another. We can transport things in the water, in the air, or over land. We can use animals, vehicles, or just our feet. Sometimes we travel for work, and sometimes for vacation or just for fun. People used horses and donkeys for transportation in lots of places. People also used camels in Africa, elephants in Asia, and llamas in South America. People still use animals for transportation today.
Listen and practice.
Homes for a queen. The Queen of the United Kingdom has 2 homes. When she is in London, she lives in Buckingham Palace. Part of the palace is now an art gallery, and you can also visit the gardens. The Queen's main home is Windsor Castle. It is one of the largest castles in the world. Many kings and queens are buried here. In November 1992, there was a big fire at the castle. It took 15 hours and a lot of water to put out the fire. The fire destroyed a big part of the castle, but most of it has been built again.
Listen and practice.
The Forbidden City. The Forbidden City in Beijing, in China, is a big palace. There are palace gardens and nearly 1,000 buildings. It is the largest ancient palace in the world. It took 15 years to build, and it is surrounded by a high wall and a moat. For 500 years, it was the winter home of the emperors of China. In summer, they moved to the Summer Palace, 12 kilometers away. Today, the Forbidden City is a museum. Some people say that the bricks in the wall around the palace were stuck together with rice and egg white.
Listen and practice.
The White House. The White House is in the USA. It is the home of the American president. The first White House was built in 1800, and 43 presidents have lived here. That's all the presidents except for the first president, George Washington. About 5,000 people visit the White House every day. The White House today has 6 floors, 132 rooms, 412 doors, 3 elevators, 147 windows, 28 fireplaces, 35 bathrooms, 1 tennis court, 1 bowling alley, 1 movie theater, 1 jogging track, 1 swimming pool.
Listen and practice.
Topkapi Palace. Topkapi Palace is in Istanbul, in Turkey. It was the home of the sultans. Up to 4,000 people lived in the palace. There were schools, shops, libraries, gardens, and other buildings, so the people who lived there never had to go out. Some parts of the palace were destroyed by fires and earthquakes, but you can visit the other parts because there is a museum. About 800 people worked in the palace kitchens, and they cooked about 6,000 meals every day.
Listen and practice.
My wife's name is Kristen. Our house is nice, but it isn't very big. It's small. It's in Seattle. Yeah, it's a small house. My sister, Annette, has a house on our street. It's just 2 minutes from our house. Our children and her children are in the same school, and that's really nice. Annette has 3 children, and we have 2. 2 children and a cat, Pete. My daughter's name is Amy, and my son's name is Brian. The children's school is near our house, so that's good, but my wife's office is miles from our house, about 20 miles. My job is in the center of town. That's no problem. We're both happy in our jobs, so that's okay. We aren't rich, but we're happy.
Listen and practice.
Terry Horton, a 60-year-old woman from Los Angeles, went shopping in San Bernardino, a small city in California. She was in a thrift store when she saw a colorful modern painting. She bought it for $5. An art teacher saw the painting and said it was by the American artist Jackson Pollock. "Who is Jackson Pollock?" said Terry. She had no idea that he was a very famous modern painter. Many art experts came to her house to see the painting. Some said that it wasn't a Pollock, but one expert, Peter Paul Biro, found Pollock's fingerprint on the back. Biro said, "This is a real Pollock painting." A rich man from Saudi Arabia was happy to pay $9 million for it, but Terry said, "No, I want $50 million. In 2007, a Canadian TV company made a movie about Terry and the painting. The picture is now for sale in an art gallery in Toronto. Price? $50 million.
Listen and practice.
I use the internet a lot, usually after school. It helps me with my homework. I Google information or I use Wikipedia. It helps me with everything. History, geography, science, English, everything. Yesterday, I got a lot of information about Jane Austen.
Listen and practice.
I play games a lot, and I go on websites for my favorite pop groups and basketball players. I want to be on the computer all the time, but my mom says I can't. She says I can only use it after school for an hour, and then I stop.
Listen and practice.
Smartphone apps make traveling easier than ever. Talk to me. This is a great tool for anyone visiting a foreign country. It works like a translator in your pocket. When you speak into the phone in English, it translates what you are saying into the language you select. You can choose between English, Chinese, French, Spanish, German, and Italian. This app is useful for the everyday needs of tourists and business travelers. It's also great for frequent travelers and language learners.
Listen and practice.
Dams. Some of the biggest structures are dams. They hold back water and make a lake called a reservoir. Dams supply water, stop floods, and they also make electricity. Gravity dams are made of a lot of concrete. They are very big and heavy, and this weight holds back the water. The Itaipu Dam is a gravity dam. It's in South America, between Paraguay and Brazil. It's 196 meters tall and nearly 8 kilometers long. The first dam was built more than 4,000 years ago in Egypt. It never worked because it fell down in heavy rain.
Listen and practice.
Early medicine. Thousands of years ago, people tried to heal broken bones, but they thought that only magic could cure them when they were ill. Early people were nomads. They didn't live in one place. They traveled around to look for food. They were healthy people. They lived outdoors most of the time, and they walked and ran a lot. They hunted animals and ate the meat when it was still fresh. They usually ate plants on the same day that they picked them. People used mud to heal broken bones. If they broke an arm or a leg, they put wet mud on it. Then the mud became dry and hard, and it stopped the arm or leg moving so that the bone inside could heal.
Listen and practice.
Ancient Egyptian doctors. We know about medicine in ancient Egypt because ancient Egyptians wrote about their world. They cut words into walls and wrote on a type of paper. We know that ancient Egyptians used magic spells to cure people, but they also had the first doctors. These doctors made medicines from plants, and they were good at putting bandages on wounds. They also used honey to help wounds to heal. This was a good idea. Even today, doctors put honey on wounds because it helps wounds to heal quickly.
Listen and practice.
A student budget. College is an exciting time to learn and to make friends that will last a lifetime. Many students do not like to worry about money and would rather not think about it. However, it doesn't matter whether a student's parents pay for everything or whether the student works part-time to help pay for his or her education. All students can get into money trouble if they're not careful. the cost of a college education can be high. In English-speaking countries, the average cost per student per year can be well over $15,000 US. Students must also pay for books, paper, pens, etc. These can cost $500 to $1,000 per year. Students must also pay thousands more per year for room and board. Add money for clothes, travel, and other personal expenses, and the average cost of 1 year at university can be $20,000 to $30,000 or more. So, students need to spend their money carefully. At most universities, counselors can give students advice on how to budget their money. This is what they suggest. At the start of a school semester, write down your income. For example, money you will get from your family or from a part-time job. Then, list all of your expenses. Put your expenses into 2 groups, those that change, food, phone, books, travel, and those that will stay the same, tuition, room and board. Add together all of your expenses. Are they more than your income? Will you need to borrow from family or friends? Or will you need to get more money by doing part-time work? Often, students find it is easier to plan out their own budget and save their own money, rather than trying to borrow from others. As you can see, there's more to learn at college than just what's taught in the classroom.
Listen and practice.
My weekends are busy and exciting. My weekdays at home are busy too. I have 2 sons, Dylan, 7, and Dakota, 5. Every morning I get up 1 hour before them at 6, and I go to the gym. I come home and I make breakfast. Then I take them to school. On Mondays I always go shopping. I buy all the food for the week. I often cook dinner in the evenings, but not every day because I don't like cooking. Fortunately, my husband Don loves cooking. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I visit my father. He lives on the next block. Every afternoon, I pick up the kids from school. In the evenings, Don and I usually relax, but sometimes we visit friends. We never go out on Friday evenings because I start work so early on Saturdays.
Listen and practice.
Books. Many people made this book. Do you know how we make books? An author writes the words, and an editor checks the words. Other people draw pictures or take photos for the book. Designers use a computer to put the words, photos, and pictures into pages. In factories, printing machines print the pages on paper. They print 16 pages on one big piece of paper. Then other machines cut the paper into pages. People used machines to fix the pages of this book together. Sometimes people sew the pages together. Then they fix them to the cover with glue.
Listen and practice.
Close. We make clothes from lots of different materials, like wool and cotton. To make jeans, people use cotton fabric. They cut the fabric into different shapes for pieces of the jeans, like the legs and pockets. They use a sewing machine to sew these pieces together. Then they sew buttons and a zipper on the front of the jeans. People use wool to make clothes like hats or sweaters. At home, some people use wool and knitting needles to knit clothes. They knit different pieces of the clothes, like the arms, the front, and the back. Then they sew the pieces together. In factories, people use knitting machines to knit clothes.
Listen and practice.
Space colony. Where could humans go if we had to leave Earth? Our solar system is huge. We don't know that much about it. There's no other place besides Earth that can naturally sustain human life. Living things on Earth need air, water, food, shelter, light, and nutrients to survive. We also need other conditions, like appropriate temperatures. The Earth is surrounded by a layer of gases called the atmosphere. It's essential to life on Earth. It provides many things we need to live. One example is the air we breathe. There is another place in our solar system where some of these things exist. It's a moon of the planet Jupiter called Europa. Its conditions could be suitable for humans. Europa's atmosphere is made up of mostly oxygen. Scientists also believe Europa's surface has water. Of course, it's not perfect. The highest temperature on Europa is -160 degrees Celsius. No human can survive that. There are other problems too, but a space colony may allow us to survive there. Scientists are studying Europa. They want to find out if there's life there. They want to learn if humans could survive there.
Listen and practice.
Plastic products. We make a lot of products from plastic, like bottles and toys. To make a plastic product, machines put hot plastic in a mold. Then the plastic is the same shape as the mold. To make some products, like bottles, machines also blow air into the molds. To make a new plastic product, like a toy, people draw it and then make a model of it. In a factory, people use the model to make a mold for each part of the toy. Machines put hot plastic in the molds to make plastic parts. People or machines fix the parts together, and they paint the toys. Then the toys go to stores.
Listen and practice.
Making products by hand. About 200 years ago, there weren't many factories or machines, and people made many products by hand. Today, some people still make products by hand. They use tools to make products like chairs, clocks, jewelry, and musical instruments. It takes years to learn how to make these things. People make guitars from wood. They cut thin pieces of wood to make the front and back of the guitar. To make the sides, they put long, thin pieces of wood in water. Then they use hot tools to make the wood the right shape for the sides. They fix these pieces together with glue. Later, they make the neck of the guitar and they put the strings on it.
Listen and practice.
One of the first things I noticed in Valencia is that people eat out a lot. They spend a lot of time in cafes. You find people having breakfast or tea, not just lunch and dinner. People who work go out to have coffee. They don't have it in their office. Another thing I notice, I find that the women here talk very fast and very loudly, much more than the men. Women dress very well, especially older women, and they always look immaculate. Finally, there's a myth that the Spanish don't work hard, but I don't think it's true. It's just that they work different hours. People have a long lunch break, but they leave work very late.
Listen and practice.
My first impression of Alexander was that he was much older than me. In fact, he was 32, but I thought he was older. But when we started talking, I really liked him. He was extroverted and funny, and he had a very good sense of humor. He works for a TV station, and he told me a lot of good stories about his work. He was also interested in the same things as me, art and music, and we talked a lot about that. Physically, he wasn't really my type. It's hard to say why. He was tall and dark and very good-looking, and he had a nice smile. But there just wasn't any chemistry between us.
Listen and practice.
When I first saw Oliver, I thought he looked warm and friendly and more attractive than Alexander. He was tall with short blonde hair, and he had amazing blue eyes, kind of like the actor Ryan Gosling. He was kind of shy and quiet at first, but when we started talking, he relaxed, and we found we had a lot of things in common. We both liked books and movies. He was generous, too. He wanted to pay for everything. I really enjoyed the evening. When it was time to go, he asked for my phone number and said he wanted to meet again. We walked out of the restaurant and went to look for a taxi. And then something happened, and I knew that it was impossible for me to go out with him. He said, "Finally," and took out a pack of cigarettes.
Listen and practice.
What do I like about my job? Well, I like the people I work with. They're good fun. And the holidays. Yes, I get a lot of time off. This year, I've got 2 weeks at Christmas and 3 weeks in the summer, so I can go snowboarding in the winter and somewhere hot in the summer. Fantastic.
Listen and practice.
The most important thing for me is my children. I'm a secretary, and I enjoy that, but No, I don't work full-time because I like spending time with them. They're only little. Hannah's 4 and Jamie's 6, so they need me. Anyway, it's what I want to do. I don't want to work full-time at the moment.
Listen and practice.
I work for a large department store. I sell women's clothes and shoes. It's a good job because I like the other people who work here, and the hours are good. Of course, I have to be polite to customers.
Listen and practice.
I don't like living here. This is a horrible area. The streets are dirty, and it's quite dangerous as well. I want to get a dog, and the town is not a good place for a dog. It's okay for a cat or a small animal, but dogs need somewhere to run about, I think.
Listen and practice.
How the oceans formed. Today, water covers about 70% of our planet. Billions of years ago, Earth's surface was dry and nothing lived here. Earth's atmosphere was also different. It had lots of carbon dioxide and other gases, but no oxygen. At first, there wasn't any liquid water on Earth's surface, but there was lots of water vapor in the atmosphere. This water vapor came from inside the planet when volcanoes erupted. When Earth cooled down, the water vapor condensed and formed clouds in the sky. Then it started to rain. After millions of years, liquid water covered most of our planet's surface.
Listen and practice.
Salt water. Today, the water in our oceans and seas is about 3.5% salt. Do you know why? When rain falls on land, some of it goes into lakes and rivers, and then into the oceans. As the water moves, it picks up salt from the ground. When the water goes into the ocean, it carries this salt with it. After many millions of years, this has made our oceans salty. Some lakes can be very salty, like Lake Assal in Djibouti in Africa. In this lake, the water is more than 35% salt, and no plants or animals can live there. The salt water comes from underground hot springs. When the hot water evaporates into the air, it leaves the salt in the lake.
Listen and practice.
Teenagers today have a bad reputation. People say that they are lazy and messy and that they do very little to help their parents around the house. But there are some teenagers for whom this description is just not true at all. It is estimated that there are more than 1.4 million teenagers in the U.S. who have to look after a member of their family, their mother or father, or brother or sister. In many cases, these young helpers, or caregivers as they are called, are doing things like feeding, washing, and taking care of family members, as well as doing their schoolwork.
Listen and practice.
Francis Rose and the Creature. There was once a beautiful princess named Rose. Her mother, the queen, however, was not as beautiful as the princess. The queen felt bad that she wasn't the most beautiful woman in the kingdom anymore. She was tired of competing with her daughter. She made a decision. She made a drink for the princess. After the princess drank it, she fell asleep. Then the queen took the princess to the forest. She left the princess there. It was a very serious thing to do. Either she will be killed by animals, or she will get lost in the forest, the queen thought. The princess had a dream. She dreamed about a man with brown hair and brown eyes. It was the man she would wed. The princess woke up. She saw a strange creature on the ground. It looked like a man, but he was hairy and green. He had horns on his head and a pig's nose. The creature said, "Did I scare you? I hope not. Let me introduce myself. I am Henry." "I am not scared. To tell you the truth, I think you are cute," said Rose. Rose and Henry spent the day together. They collected berries, caught fish, and had lunch. They had a very good day filled with nice conversations. "Rose, I have to go home," said Henry. "My ship will sail home soon. I can't leave you here in the forest alone. Will you come with me?" Rose was very happy. She gave Henry a kiss on his pig nose. As soon as she kissed Henry, he began to change. His big nose turned into a man's nose. His horns and green hair went away. Standing in front of her was the man Rose had dreamed about. Rose and Henry were married and lived happily.